got to the point where these old guys, I mean, 50, 60, that were hanging around, you know, they're like, you're like the Maharaj. What are you talking about? I don't know what this is. You remind me of Maharaj, that state you remind me of. And, you know, and I was so, you know, being young, 24, and very impressionable, that went straight to my head. I mean, straight to my head. And I found myself that I could pretty much almost exhibit like a weird control over people's state, right? And I was having fun with it. You know? I really was. I was exploiting it as far as I could. What was interesting is the day I met Carlos, that all stopped. I mean, it stopped dead in its tracks. And one day, really early in, he pulled me, you know, aside. He's like, "Hey, I got something to say to you." You know that past you had? I said, "Yeah." He's like, "You know, that was pretty, wasn't it?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "That was really beautiful, wasn't it?" I said, "Yeah, it sure was." And he's like, "But what about this?" Smacks me on the back. Right on here. That doesn't really hit you. Just kind of moves his hand and then looks me in the eye. And I don't know how to explain it because it wasn't anything visual. It was an energetic that was, you know, like I'm plugged into and deciphering. And what it was all the neglected stuff. All the trauma, all the pain, all the inconsistencies, all of the false notions, all of the beliefs, all of the judgments, all of the I can't, all the self-consciousness, all of it. It was like one big turd that was, and I was feeling that turd. And he says, this is where it's at. Because you have that, sure, but you don't have this under control. And this will win if it's not under control. You know, and I found out, you know, that was years ago. That was 13, coming on 13 years ago that I met him. You know, and he had died I mean, there's lots of numbers out there. For me, it was December 96. What was it for anyone else? I really don't know. You know, because he was an enigma. I mean, that guy never had his picture taken. Very few interviews, never led a public life. You know, and then there's this thing out there called, you know, Clear Green, where they said he was doing seminars in Los Angeles. It's like, I can't buy that. Well, I mean, I guess he could have been. You know, but you know, a lot of them say at the same time he was hanging out with, you know, a private guy like that's doing seminars. You really think so? Because I would ask him, you know, about specific stuff in the book, and he would look at me and go, "It's all in there. I didn't leave it out. That's why I'm public life. It's all in there. I didn't leave anything out. You just have to read it and be honest with yourself." Yeah, I totally understand what you mean. So, inevitably, what we ended up working, you know, for me, what I've been worked through, I realized that that big turd has got ego written all over it. That it's manipulated by this, how would I put it? This. When this is completely blocked off, this is all you got, right? And the only thing that can process it is this identity you create to be in the world, right? But it has no information, really. It sees it, it has no idea what to do with it. So what it ends up doing is creating chaos in your life. Imbalance, a serious imbalance. It misunderstands energies, it misunderstands emotion, it misunderstands everything, right? It has no information about it. I mean, really, to boil it down, it thinks. It doesn't know. It thinks. The actual being with the mind knows. But the mind thinks. Like a hammer hits a nail, but it's not really good for putting in windows. You know what I'm saying? You don't hug somebody with it. You go, "Oh, good morning." You know what I mean? So why do we take a tool that's similar to a hammer? Because you know what? That hammer, if it's focused correctly, it's going to hit that nail every time. Precisely. And drive that thing in. The mind, same way. If it's used for what it's intended for, done. Done. But it's used for so many other things. Why do I feel this way? Why is that person treating me like this? Why is this happening to me? Asking questions to a tool. It's like looking at the hammer and saying, why does my finger hurt? You know, it's a really retarded way about going about things. It really is. It's mental illness. Because then the behavior that comes out of that, which truly etches that act into reality, is now corrupt. You have your intentions, which no one really has negative intentions. I mean, there are, I guess there's some. I don't even want to acknowledge them. But the people that, really, that still have their heart somewhat intact, their intentions are never bad. Are your intentions ever bad? No. Are yours? No. Yours? No. Yours?
Occasion.
You're a guy. I know it is. I know it is. So what is it in our makeup that causes us to deviate from our best intention? What causes us to fail in reaching the manifestation of that? I mean, really, we're all very, very, very brilliant people. All of us. And when we apply ourselves, we know that to be true. So why do we spend so much time not doing that?
What we believe about ourselves. It's what we believe about ourselves.
This concerns the society that you believe about yourself.
There's no way to live. Because, getting right down to what we actually are. Actually. I'm talking beyond anybody's idea, beyond belief. This is actually what we are. That which is staring out of our eyeballs. And do we have any information about that? Any knowledge? I mean, we have knowledge about this. I know I like to put these particular pair of jeans on them, and I like to have my hair this particular way. But that's just like, deciding what color your car is. Right? What is that? It's looking out of our eyeballs. Because that right there is the crux of that's the crux of the matter right there, or the crux of the biscuit. There it is. What is that?
The soul.
Right? Where is that coming from? Is it limited in any way?
Only by yourself.
Which self is that?
Your lower self. Not your higher self.
It's that ego state.
Yeah.
That without information, without being able to process information, is trying to determine what's good for the entire being. That's like, the hammer's going to tell you what nail to hit and where to hit it and how. No. You're going to pick up the hammer and you're going up to the nail. It's going to be your focus, your effort, your intent that whatever nail gets hit. It's not the hammer determining it. It's not the mind that determines your destiny, if you will, your future. It's the whole being. Right? And it's very funny because when you give the reins to the mind, it doesn't take into consideration how you as a being are going to feel about anything. It's oblivious to that. That's like saying the hammer is going to know what your finger feels like when it hits it. And it's going to feel bad and say it's sorry and straighten up. No, you hit the finger. Bam. You just had the hammer. You know what I'm saying? Hammer hit the finger, sure, but the hammer's not going to know that. So when we go to do it all mental, from what we see, because we know that, egoically we can know that, what we see. And we can know the thoughts running through our head. We might not know where they're coming from or why they're there, but we know those thoughts. That's the ego's limit. That's it. It's done there. So when emotion comes up, last thing to do is turn the mind on. That's basically like taking the hammer to hug somebody. It's not going to do it right. It is going to screw it up. Right? And then what comes out of that? The thing that manifests in the world is chaotic behavior. Corrupt. It will always be corrupt. Not because the being is corrupt, but that they're using the mind to delineate information it has no way